I have to assume that some of that was the time this movie came out. Let's not underestimate how crazy the summer and the months leading up to the summer of 1989 were for the box office. So I'm looking at April, and it's nothing crazy. April's never going to have anything too wild, but it does have some big ones. Say Anything, Field of Dreams, Teen Witch, Loverboy. These are all movies I like. Field of Dream was a big box office thing. But also Cyborg and Kickboxer come out.
Kickboxer, yeah.
And one of Marcus's favorite, Pet Sematary, drops that time as well.
Yeah.
A movie that fucked me up forever when that little kid slices his Achilles tendon.
Yeah.
Oh, that never made me... I would
Munster
jump out of
just getting cut on the floor. Yeah.
I would jump out of my bed to avoid little hands with scalpels shooting out at me. So this movie was released in May of 1989. So its first weekend, like you said, Marcus, it does around $6 million, pretty decent. You think, it's only gonna get better. The thing is, the next weekend, the third Indiana Jones is released.
Oof.
So you're losing quite a bit of your audience to this movie, right? You gotta think. Then you think, okay, maybe it's gonna stay in the box office a little bit longer and it's gonna pick up. But brother, June June 89, you got Dead Poets Society, okay? Not that it's not necessarily going to cross over, but it's a big movie.
Right.
Star Trek V comes out. Do the Right Thing comes out in June. And then we're in movie season, Marcus. Then the summer blockbusters start coming out. June 16th, 1989, Ghostbusters 2.
Ooh.
And then June 23rd, all bets are off because Batman is released.
Yeah.
And nothing matters anymore in cinema.
Everything's changed.
Everything's changed for the next month and a half. It's all Batman. But then you have Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. You have Karate Kid Part 3. Fucking Mike Barnes coming up to kick ass. This movie is better than the box office, I believe, leads it to. Everyone was happy with it. You know, it made its money back and then some. You got $15 million off of it. But I think that people were hoping for another $100 million movie.
Oh, yeah, and you hear that in all the interviews pretty much. Like, even Ben Gazzara just sitting there smoking his cigar like, this is going to make a lot of money. And it's just... but
and
what's
Swayze
great,
says that, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, though, yeah, it sucks because everyone who you listen to on this movie, and actors are very adamant about, you can tell their facial expressions, their body language in interviews, how they feel about the movie, too, and you can see that. Everyone is so happy to talk about this movie and excited about it too. And everybody had a great time making it. Everything that I've listened to, I'd love to find an interview where there was an outlier, but you can't find one that I found.
Nope.
And it's just, you really feel like, man, I really wish this would have been huge on opening week, and carried that forward. But then in the same way, this movie wouldn't have been what it is now if it did do that.
I think it almost makes it like the actors talk about it like an elusive 3-month club they were a part of.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're right. I think if it was the $200 million monster or whatever they were hoping for, maybe it wouldn't have been that. Maybe its journey makes it that much more special to these actors who were part of it. And it's given them Sam Elliott says he's recognized more for this movie than any other movie he's ever done. This is an Oscar-nominated, legendary fucking actor, and who did The Big Lebowski.
Yeah,
So as did Ben Gazzara. So it's like, I don't know. It's smallness, and when it was released, makes it that much more special. I think, of course, that Swayze tragically passes away of colon cancer or pancreatic cancer.
Pancreatic, yeah.
Yeah, and when they found that it was already at stage 4, so. Who else? Somebody else in this movie passed away of cancer as well. It was Ben Gazzara, I believe.
Ben Gazzara, yeah.
Yeah. So,
do you remember how that was when you heard,
Yes.
I of course, I don't remember where I was, but I just remember that feel, hearing that, Swayze only has, so long to live. And it's just like, what? Yeah. We just got that news. Of course, we're not in his circle, so of course we're not going to hear that news, how it's taking place, but... It's just like you hear that and you're like, holy shit, what, he was doing so good in the series. What was the last series he was in?
The
big
Beast.
one. Yeah, the Beast. That
The
he
Beast.
was getting, acclimated. Yeah, everybody loved him in it,
and it was right at that time where like gritty hour-long dramas were starting to really pop.
Yeah.
And the Beast was that for him, and he worked on the Beast a lot longer than he probably healthily should have. I mean, you can see it in the Beast episodes. Like he's working on borrowed time, and he knows that. He does a fascinating interview with Barbara Walters when it's like he knows he's going to die eventually. His clock is on, and he's like, I just want to work as long as I can, and I want to give as much as I can, and he does. The Beast is great, man. And he's wonderful in it. It's such a sad thing. It'd be cool to think about like Swayze still being alive. He'd be 70s right now, 60s, 70s, and as healthy, like as physically healthy as he was outside of the cancer. I'm sure he'd still be fucking rocking it.
Right. Should we take this time to also mention, not to take away from that,
Please.
but just the news that we heard this week about there possibly
let's
being
bring that up right now.
Because I'm sure you were going to touch on it, but we just got news this week. Variety put out that Jake Gyllenhaal has been approached about possibly rebooting Roadhouse.
Yes, and I think Jake Gyllenhaal is a great. He's so calm, and he's obviously physically. I saw Southpaw, so he can like handle himself. I think it's great.
I love it. Yeah.
I love the idea. I know. I think it was 2013. They were talking about rebooting it with Ronda Rousey,
right?
Which would have been interesting on its own. Everyone, it's like you said, everyone loves this project. There's such an attachment to it that everyone wants to do it. And I think when the second one came out and it was so bad, I'm okay saying that because it is. It's just, I don't know if that soured a lot of people, but I think people are just apprehensive about it working. But man, with Gyllenhaal, he's going to get whatever he wants.
Yeah. And two, I mean, I don't think even people counted in the canon of Roadhouse.
Yeah,
it's just, it was straight to video. So but having that kind of stain on it a little bit is still just, like you said, again, Roadhouse isn't this huge thing. It is in pop culture, and it is with certain people and audiences, but it's not this huge film event that took place to where it's a different type of wanting to do better because, one, Patrick Swayze is so beloved, and this was, one of his things and what he's known for, that you do want to make sure you're doing, like if somebody brought The Godfather back, you would still think about things and how it's going to be done and, are we doing this right? But the way you're bringing Roadhouse back is a different way of thinking than that. You're still in the same kind of sense, but it's a different thought process that you have about it.
Yeah.
To where it's
how old is Jake Gyllenhaal?
He's got to be in his late 30s, early 40s right now, probably. Right?
So this would have been like he would have the attachment to this movie that we do, or at least has the opportunity. So I think that's what you want. You want someone making this movie, that it's important to. Yeah,
Jake Gyllenhaal's 40 years old. He'll be 41 in December, so that's perfect. Time. That's perfect time for him. Yeah.
Yeah, man. He's 2 years older than me, so. Good for him, man. I give this movie my blessing, and when he calls, I'll do this. I'll tell him he can make it. One of the more enjoyable things you can do with Roadhouse is watch it when it came out and when they did the big re-release of I don't know, big is probably an overestimation, but they did a release with a second disc with all these special features.
Yeah,
and they have a commentary with Rowdy Harrington and Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier that speak over the whole movie, and it's so fun. Especially if you're not watching Roadhouse to watch Roadhouse, you just want to hear, and it's so cool to hear all these people talk about it. And Kevin Smith leads it because in the Clerk director's cut and commentary, he talks about how much he loves Roadhouse, and he's like, "Man, I would love to talk about Roadhouse." And they were like, "Fuck, Kevin, come do it. You're hot." So if you get the deluxe edition, you can hear Kevin Smith and all these cool people talk about what it was like and do sort of Q&A and research on it. It's really fun. I highly recommend it.
That'd be fun. I think if we did I'd like to do a commentary on Roadhouse.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it briefly, but I think it'd be fun to do just like a watch along kind of thing for it too. Yeah.
So that's that's a lot of back to it. But let's just talk about our favorite moments. I mean, we don't need to do a blow by blow of this movie. I think the first 10 minutes of this movie are just amazing. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm getting excited. Yeah, it's all right.
I like things I noticed about this movie that I never noticed before. Watching it for details to talk about on the podcast. For instance, when we first see Tillman, he's getting out. He has his bolo turquoise tie on, which means he loves the Southwest. He is in a airport shuttle. The limousine's an airport service. So this man just landed. He's here for business. His plane lands. He doesn't have luggage on him. He just flew here. I mean, if you think like that's an airport limousine. So he doesn't even have a briefcase. He doesn't bring it with him.
He's not planning on staying. He just came. Nope. He came with an envelope of cash.
That's it.
And that's it in his breast pocket. And he has one goal in mind, and he's a businessman. He he knows what he has to do to turn this bar around, and he's there to get it done.
And you know, one of the great things in this movie are the side conversations you hear as he's walking through this bar.
Yes.
Things like he's seeing the money, he's seeing this place bring in money, and someone puts down an American Express, and it's just this wonderful line where it goes, "That's gold plastic right there." And there's other things like, "That's a well-built woman."
Yeah.
Just like, I wish I could be in the ADR sessions and do some of these. Like, take it from the top. Well, that's a well-built woman. I mean, there's just so many wonderful... did you catch any of the other ones? Those were two that really stuck out to me.
I think the first one that sticks out in my mind, and it's not even something that's said, it's just an action, was when he's walking through there and he's seeing everybody having a good time and he's just like taking it all in, like this is what a bar is kind of thing. But there's this like group of girls that are just like drinking, and then they see somebody else and like they're waving, and it's I don't know what it is about that, and they're like, hey, and you don't hear like say their names, but it's just like this is how wholesome Tillman wants his bar to be. Like not wholesome, but he wants it to be the same thing as Dalton. You know, he's like, oh, they're drinking and having a good time. Like this is all he wants, is that this camaraderie and this come-togetherness of his bar in Kansas City, Kansas, is just to be this place where people go. And these girls, like, seeing their friend in the group is just like, oh, this is what I want my bar to be, and laying down gold plastic.
It really is. That's gold plastic right there. Now, fun fact, Marcus, you told me this, didn't know it. The band playing, what other movie might we see them in?
From Dusk Till Dawn. The Cruzados.
Are they vampires?
They are vampires in Dusk Till Dawn. Maybe they are here. Maybe this is an interwoven story. That's,
God, please. They can't make all their money there, so they do tour.
They do,
and then they go back to feed.
Yeah.
Oh, please. And the introduction of Dalton, no one has ever felt music more than Dalton is feeling this song when we first see him. He's nodding his head, but he's doing it in such a way where it's like he's not nodding down, he's nodding up.
He's snapping that neck back, man. Yeah, it's
hitting something inside of him that's primal. And he's also scanning the bar. He's not letting it distract him. But he's having a good time too, and this is how Dalton has a good time. Arms crossed, leaning on the corner of the bar, jutting his head like he's being hit in the chin over and over again, just feeling this soul come from the Cruzados. Did you ever notice that? Like how hard he's...
He does it when he hears Cody, Jake Healy, at the Double Deuce. Even when he's listening to the shitty waitress singing her song.
The shitty waitress, damn.
Sorry,
Marcus is coming for her. No,
good for her, right. Good for her. But I don't enjoy the song she's singing. But still, anyways. But yeah, you get it throughout the movie that chin up, and like. That's a choice right there. I'm sure they had to tell Patrick Swayze, get into the music, and when his chin went up, they're like, whoa, cut. What the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And it's just like...
And he's like, I can't explain it. Just roll.
Just roll.
And I wonder if his Bob was that sudden and direct. And he says he hates it, but how much does his hair help it, you know?
Oh, that has to be that mullet leaning it back. That's weight on the back, and it's just like pulling it.
I mean, it's bobbing, and it's just a beautiful, and it's great because the way the camera comes in,